And here the raspberries grow, there the zucchini and eggplant. I'm planning to put a greenhouse for tomatoes here, her mother muttered, strolling around the plot. Yulia glanced briefly at her husband, who, at the sight of the summer house, chuckled in confusion and clenched and unclenched his fists. Yes, Yulia herself saw that a small renovation, as her mother suggested, would result in remodeling half the house, which she hastened to inform the woman as soon as she had a chance to be alone. Mom, raspberries and eggplant. That's all well and good, simply wonderful. But do you even know that all this will take more than just 3 digs? It's a couple of months' worth of work and a ton of building materials. The expenses are considerable. Even if we do it all ourselves, without hiring workers. Honey, why hire them? Your husband is a handy man. And it's not like we'll be working hard for strangers. Quote. You said yourself you wanted a place to relax. Putting everything in order here would definitely be cheaper than buying anything. Or buying a plot of land from scratch, developing it, and building a house. You know I'm not interested in this plot of land. Everything can be bought now, and of decent quality. And we have the money. Well, you're not interested, but I enjoy working on the land. And as for the harvest, since you're not laying claim, I'll give it to Sveta. She has 3 children, and they always eat everything and aren't naughty, unlike you. Yulia shuddered. The comparison with her sister's family, often made between her mother and her eldest daughter, was sometimes incredibly unappealing. Yes, Yulia doesn't have 3 children. They're not planning on having one until 2 years from now, when Stas gets a promotion. And what's so bad about that? Or rather, not even that. What's so good about having 3 children without a clear plan for their future? Now Sveta's family lives on handouts from relatives on both sides. Yes, her husband has a disability pension, but it's not enough to raise 3 children. And Sveta's qualifications, to put it mildly, leave much to be desired. It was Yulia who worked hard. She went to college, then university, so she could get a decent job with adequate pay. And Sveta got married right after school. And so, her mother is happy that her daughter continued to produce. And the fact that she will now have to feed this family for the rest of her life is, apparently, a trifle. Why come on, why buy anything when there's a decent dacha right here? I'm as indifferent to the house as you are to the plot of land. You know that. It's a 15-minute bus ride home. The ride is free anyway. That's why I don't stay, since there's not even a TV here. It's true. While Yulina's mother loved her vegetable garden, she couldn't stand living outdoors all the time, even for 2 or 3 days. She even said more than once that she'd rather tear down the house and plant the space with something useful than tolerate a largely useless hut on the property. What do you think? She asked cautiously, when the couple got into the car. Mom didn't go with them. She said she still had to do some weeding, so they had to discuss the situation alone. Well, what I think, you should take what they give you and not show off. We know your mother, as well as her attitude towards this house. It's just standing there, taking up space. Considering that there won't be satellite TV and internet there for who knows how long, everything will remain like this forever. Your sister isn't a summer resident either, as far as I remember. That Sveta doesn't want to look at this house at all, or even hear about it, Yulia confirmed. She constantly suggested that mother sell it and split the money so that mother wouldn't have to pay utilities. Ah, what utilities? And what about water for her precious eggplants? Well, maybe that. It's because of them that mother doesn't sell the summer house, but takes care of the house. If you think anything good will come of this, Yulia began cautiously. She understood that the man will have the last word in this conversation, because the hassle of repairing the roof, replacing the wiring, and installing proper furniture will fall on his shoulders. Yulia will contribute financially, and she'll also vacuum up after everyone else's work. Yes, it's work, but Stas will have to do the bulk of the work. I still think we should take it while they're offering. Tomorrow they'll invite a friend, we'll climb in and see what's up with the roof. And the work began. For 3 months, after a hard day at the office, Yulia and Stas would drive to their dacha. Luckily, they didn't live in the capital, and they avoided the kilometers-long traffic jams. Everything, as Mom said, was 15 minutes to the site. But that didn't make it much easier, since there was a ton of work to do. Mom didn't participate. She had no money, nor any desire to toil away on improving a house she didn't use. Well, yes, she said so right away. So the couple had to toil away in a repaired niva for the whole renovation crew. Yulia was entrusted with painting the walls and wallpapering, as well as choosing all the necessary furniture and coordinating the arrival times of the surveyors and movers. There was plenty of work, but the result was also pleasing. 3 months later, the noticeably refreshed house was pleasing to the eye and ready to welcome visitors. The hardest part of this part of the plan was getting vacations on the same dates at work. But Yulia and Stas managed that too. They found someone to swap with so they could spend their first vacation together in several years of dating. You know, I never liked these trips to the dacha as a kid. Me either. You've seen my mother. She tried to instill a love of gardening in me from the age of 8, but it didn't work, but we got on each other's nerves pretty badly. And my family didn't have a garden. Just a house, a plot of grass that was mowed just wide enough for walking, and nothing more. But every day was a party and there were always a bunch of strangers you couldn't even remember. Oh, well, that's not quite right either. Let's try to find a happy medium, without all these garden beds, without a bunch of friends, acquaintances, and barely known relatives. Well, we managed to relax and have fun on this vacation. I took meat for barbecue, borrowed an inflatable boat from a friend, grabbed a spinning rod. I think I'm all set. But I can hardly imagine what you'll do. The forest, I'll go for a walk, maybe pick berries, but not on an industrial scale, like Mom, just for the sport of it and a delicious pie for dinner. Yulia stretched blissfully and looked at Stas, who was focused on driving. I love you. And I love you too. At the dacha, however, a surprise awaited them, which confirmed, not all plans are destined to come true. As soon as the door opened, Sveta's youngest daughter grabbed Yulia by the leg. Amina, quote, "Preed," the child greeted joyfully, staining his light-colored jeans with sticky juice hands. Hello to you too, Yulia said in surprise, looking at the large checkered bags standing in the middle of the hallway. Oh, Yulia, hi, how many years, how many winters, and my husband, the kids and I decided to take a rest. Sveta came out into the hallway, wiping her dirty hands on the towel that Yulia had spent 3 hours choosing at the local SUM. To rest. Yeah. And why our dacha? Yulia began to clarify. It's not yours, it's my mother's, Sveta retorted. By the way, since you've made a mess, at least take out the trash after yourself. Just not today. My husband and the eldest are sleeping, tired from the road. Stas clenched his teeth so hard that it was scary to look at him. Yulia herself would have said a lot of nice things to her sister, but causing a scandal in front of a small child seemed too indecent to her. Whatever wild things her mother and grandmother did, Amina had no part in what was happening. Quote, "It's my fault. And it was a shame to bring a girl, who's already growing up in less than ideal conditions, to tears with screaming and arguing." Mom, what's going on? The couple had barely gotten into the car when Yulia dialed her mother and put the call on speakerphone. "What are you talking about?" the woman said, confused. "I'm talking about Sveta. We actually agreed that we would be the ones vacationing at the dacha. And it would be fine if you let her in later, when we leave. Just to spite me. First of all, darling, tone it down. Don't yell at me," her mother's voice snapped. "Secondly, you and your husband can take a vacation in September, or even take a winter vacation and relax at the dacha. But Sveta has children. Summer is more important to her," her mother declared. "They need to grow up and get some fresh air, not sit cooped up in a concrete jungle all summer. I've never seen them at the dacha before. It was impossible to live there before, and you know it. Yulia, why are you acting like a little girl, complaining and getting angry? We have to share. I shared the dacha with you, didn't I? Now you share with Sveta. But I wasted 3 months of my life and tons of money on your dacha. And as usual, you're handing everything to your favorite one on a silver platter. Since she's also going to relax at the dacha and use everything we bought, let her at least pay for half of the building materials. It would be fair, wouldn't it? Honestly, is it fair to demand money from a woman with such a husband and 3 children on her hands? I didn't expect this from my daughter. Is that how I raised you? Oh, come on. No, you raised me to kiss your beloved Sveta in turns with you on distillations," Yulia barked. She'd just taken a deep breath to continue her rant, but her mother had already hung up. 5 minutes passed before she received a message. "Take your junk out of the dacha tomorrow. My sister has nowhere to put it. Will you learn to talk to your mother? I'll let you come over for a vacation in September." "Mom, no, but that's totally normal." Yulia was on the verge of tears. She knew her mother had a special relationship with her younger sister, but it had never hit her so hard before. All this praise for Sveta didn't really touch her, since Yulia knew she would be much better off than her sister. The fact that her mother constantly helped her younger daughter financially was generally considered normal, because Yulia had a good job and a husband, while Sveta never had enough for the bare necessities. Yulia was even subconsciously prepared for her mother to leave her apartment to Sveta. Quote, "What should we do now, Stas?" "Nothing." Stas frowned, gripping the steering wheel tighter. "Tomorrow I'll go and take all our junk out of there. That's all, so we have somewhere to put it. The sofa won't be in the way, nor the table, nor the new electric stove and oven. What happens next? I'll return the store. If that doesn't work out, we'll sell it online for 80% of the price. The appliances will definitely be taken right away. The furniture might hang there for a couple of months before a buyer is found. But we'll return some of the money and the rest will go to your mother. Sorry, I won't set foot in there. No matter what happens to her, for me she's gone." Yulia couldn't say the same. Her own mother, no matter what she did. But she accepted her husband's idea to cut off all contact and stop offering any more help. And then the next evening, the police came knocking on their apartment. Yulia's tearful mother arrived with them, accusing her daughter and son-in-law of being such bad guys, stealing furniture, appliances, and everything she needed from her dacha, right down to the bed linen. "We didn't steal anything," the couple exchanged glances. Quote, "Here's a message from Mom telling us to pick up our stuff. Here's a recording of the conversation where she confirms that someone else, not us, will be living there for a while. Why would we leave our things to someone else? These are my things," the elderly woman was indignant. "Which ones are yours, Mom? Here are the receipts from the stores. Either I or Stas bought everything. What does this have to do with you?" The police, having discovered that there was no crime in sight, went off to their own devices. And the mother stood outside Yulia's door for a long time, pounding it with her fists and cursing her daughter in every possible way. It all ended only an hour and a half later, when one of the neighbors threatened to call the police. Yulia and Stas, however, were not bothered by the woman's scandal. There were headphones in the house, and in some computer games the noise from the gunfire is so loud that it would drown out any scandal. The couple cut off contact with Yulia's mother, and she herself was in no hurry to reconnect. To establish contact with relatives whom she herself had offended, until she called one cold winter evening with a demand. "Yulia, it's icy outside, and I need to buy something. Tomorrow after work, on your way home, stop by the store and buy Sveta, let her buy it," Yulia snapped. "Are you really going to be upset with my mother for the rest of my life?" She didn't believe it. "That's right, Mom, and don't be offended, limiting contact with a person who doesn't put my desires on the list of their priorities. Ask Sveta. Are you sponsoring her? You fulfill her every whim. Let her repay you with kindness, and leave me alone." "So that's the kind of love you have for your mother?" "The same as you have for your daughter," Yulia answered symmetrically and hung up. It's better to cut ties with a person who doesn't care about you than to hope again and again for a manifestation of love and decency, and then again receive the usual turnaround. She'd better do without it. She'd had enough of the summer events. Thanks, no more. Lesson learned. That morning, Yulia was just finishing her hair, getting ready for an important meeting. When her phone started ringing, her mother appeared on the screen. Yulia froze for a second, but then answered decisively. "Hello, Yulenka, my daughter." Her mother's voice sounded unusual, worried. "You won't believe what happened. Let me guess. Sveta did something wrong again," Yulia chuckled, rolling her eyes. "Where are you from?" the mother began, but Yulia interrupted her. "Mom, let's get to the point. I have a meeting in half an hour." "Oh, Yulenka, your sister has become completely insolent, can you imagine?" While her mother poured out her soul, Yulia mentally replayed the upcoming presentation. "And what does she want this time?" "Money, so that I can rein in Sveta. And now I have nowhere to live, Yulenka, my sunshine. Can I stay with you for a while?" Yulia almost dropped the phone. Not a sour turn of events, she thought. "Mom, what about Sveta? Won't she take you in?" "Oh, my dear, she kicked me out. She says that I ruin her whole life with my care. Can you imagine?" "What are you doing?" Yulia drawled sarcastically. "I can't even imagine how she could do that," Yulia muttered. And the irony of fate flashed through her head. Now mommy will experience firsthand what it's like to be an unwanted guest. "Yulenka, so what, can I come?" Yulia took a deep breath. "Mom, remember how you turned me down in the summer? How you said I could take a winter break, and Sveta had kids?" Yulia, well, no, Mom, it's your turn now. Maybe you could come over sometime in December too? And I have a career, you know. I need to focus. But I'm your mother, and I'm your daughter. And what, when it was convenient for you, you forgot about that." There was silence on the phone. Yulia could almost physically feel her mother choosing her words to appeal to her pity. "Well, not today, Mom, I'm sorry, I have to go. Good luck with your apartment search." Yulia hung up and stared at her reflection in the mirror. Tears were rolling down her cheeks, but a slight smile played on her lips. Quote, "What did you eat?" she whispered to her reflection. So much for the boomerang of karma. Quote. Stas, who appeared in the bedroom doorway, asked worriedly, "Is everything okay?" Yulia turned to her husband, wiping away tears. "You know, it feels like I've just completely grown up. And you know what? It's so nice. Stas hugged his wife. I'm proud of you. You did everything right. Yulia nodded, feeling warmth spreading inside. She realized that loyalty and love must be earned, not demanded. And that sometimes the most important lesson in life is the ability to say no. To those who are used to taking advantage of your kindness. Okay, enough snot. Yulia exhaled deeply and smiled at her reflection. Quote, I have a meeting. I'll go show these sharks who's boss. Stas laughed. Go, my iron lady, tear them apart. Yulia winked at her husband and, grabbing a folder with documents, left the apartment. She felt that today she was capable of any accomplishment, because she had finally learned to value herself and not allow others to take advantage of her kindness. And this was the most important achievement in her life.